Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He is in his 40s, middle-aged, married, definitely been around the block. And essentially he wrote in an article that he wrote titled, Why You Should Never Date Single MOMs. And yes, of course, I have to actually spell that out, because if I say it, the algorithm here on YT wouldn't like it that much and cause me trouble. But anyhow, guys, this guy has actually written me a few personal stories in the past, 2 months ago. Very good. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's been around the block, like I said. And he and his friends got together and talked about their experiences and essentially came to this, writing this thing to help you young guys out. Now, what he does here, unlike a lot of the articles I've gone over and things I've talked about, he really breaks it down to different types of single MOMs, okay? Whether it be widows or carousel riders, and as a result of their carousel riding became the single MOM, sometimes different baby daddies, all these different types, and the reasons why it's best to avoid them. Now, here's the thing, because I did mention widows. He does have certain exceptions where you had a married couple and unfortunately the husband died and she's now single because of that. That's a completely different situation, and he's going to address that, but he's going to break down the different types and the usual problems associated with them, just to warn the young guys out there, because right now a lot of young guys don't really know any better, and it's really conditioned in our society, and you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about, that the young guy should be the hero, the white knight, the nice guy to save the poor gal, the damsel in distress. And you all know from the stories I go over what happens to those guys most of the time. It doesn't end well for them. And there are a lot of poisonous young gals out there that will take advantage of young guys, and I don't want that to happen. And a lot of them, sadly, happen to be the single MOMs. Okay, I'm not saying all, because believe me, I know, and I've known through my life some single MOMs. I got one in my family, and they are some very cool, well-adjusted women. They really are. But certain stereotypes definitely come along with them. And I'm going to, real quick before I get into the story, guys, go over some of the top reasons why a lot of guys avoid and don't date these types or get in relationships with them. And even if they're cool, things are going to happen no matter what that a guy who's on his grind, on his purpose, just doesn't need in his life. Now, real quick, before I get into this guy's story or article, one of the first ones is the kids will always come first. Not you, the kids. Now, of course, these are her children, so of course she loves her kids. It's her job to raise them. They're obviously living with her. So if you have a date planned for a Saturday night, and all of a sudden, the last minute, her daughter Jenny or her son Johnny gets sick, she's going to cancel. Okay? And of course she would. She's going to take care of her kids. I get that. But if you're a busy guy on your grind, like I try to encourage you all to be, and you got one, maybe 2 nights a week that you can actually go out, and she has to cancel at the last minute, and this happens often like that, you don't really need that. It's not a very sustainable thing to have in your life, okay? You want someone that can, get together with and there be no interruptions. So that could be an issue with the kids, and you're going to come second. Another one, the kids' problems will become your problems. You get involved with a single MOM, trust me, those kids, you take on the role as the dad or the dad, somewhat of a dad, those kids' problems become your problems. Now, some guys may not care, but again, for a lot of guys that are on their grind, on their purpose, they don't need that. I'm trying to help you guys have a smooth, easy life. Another one, the kids being disrespectful. How many of you guys have dated the single MOMs, have the kids say, you try to tell them to cut that crap out, they're being disrespectful or being little shitheads or I don't know what, and they pretty much give you the old, you're not my dad type of line, right? You don't need that crap, really, and the kids can be little shitheads. Now, not all of them are going to be this way, but a lot can be. Another one, the ex-husband or baby daddy, whatever you want to call it, is always going to be in the picture, for better or worse, okay? He could be a real jackass, which can often happen to a lot of these situations, and that could impact you, because he's going to impact her mood, he's going to impact the kids and get them worked up sometimes, He may have issues with you, who knows? And again, bringing turmoil into your life. You guys don't need this. Another one, money. A lot of times the single MOM early on, typically the carousel riders, through their own being irresponsible and reckless, got themselves pregnant by some dude that's not exactly daddy material, and now she needs help. She needs resources to help pay the bills, take care of the kids, and she's going to find that nice guy, you know what I'm talking about, that white knight nice guy, doesn't know any better, to help take care of things for his money, for his resources. And I don't want you guys used. Does this mean they're all going to do that? No. But a lot do. And I'm sure there's somebody watching this right now that was used in that way. So you got to be careful about that. Another one, loyalty problems. If it's a carousel rider and she's been doing a lot of carousel riding, good luck with her pair bonding with you, because that's gone bye-bye, okay? And also, you could have ones that, because they have bad experiences with dudes, they're going to carry over those bad experiences onto your relationship, okay? And it'll be hard for her to click, be connected with you, all those other things. Keep that in mind. Another thing, back to the exes, baggage from the exes, and this connects with the whole things didn't go very well with them, so they assume that you're going to be the same way, and it's going to be very hard to get that out of her mindset, okay, and amongst many other things. So those are some typical reasons why, and guys, I try to help you, all you guys, whatever, whether you're in your 20s or 40s or 50s or 60s, I don't care. I'm trying to help you guys have a smooth and easy life, drama-free. And I don't want you guys to be bringing things into your lives that's going to cause a whole bunch of freaking drama. Of course, unless that's what you like. There are people in this world that actually can't function without drama. Now, usually guys don't fall into that category too much, but there are ones that do. So I wanted to help you out. Now, I'm going to get into his thing here. Again, he wrote to me before with different stories that were good about his personal life, and he really breaks this thing down well. So he says here, greetings, SSM. I've been watching both of your channels for a while now, and I've really enjoyed your content. I am a relationship guy and have been married for over 10 years, but even then, I still get a lot of good advice and information from your channel and viewers. Among the best advice I have heard you mention several times is that it's a very bad idea to date a single MOM. However, no one has ever explained why this is. Obviously, there are issues of raising another man's child or children, but the problems actually go much deeper than that. The mentalities of the various types of single MOMs make the already challenging task of forming a long-term relationship and or marriage even more difficult. Yes, there are multiple types of single MOMs, and each type comes with their own problems. So, I want to tell your viewers, especially the younger relationship guys, why they should avoid the single MOMs instead of just saying, don't date them. So now he's going to go into it. He says, I've learned that there are 3 broad categories that you can fit single mothers into. I like how he chooses the word broad. Number 1, carousel riders. Number 2, divorcees. And number 3, the justified single MOMs. Each of these have many subcategories and all have their own unique problems associated with trying to form a relationship. I will break down any important subcategories when I talk about the main categories. I feel that a lot of guys, especially young guys, are not aware of these problems and could thus be setting themselves up for failure and heartache at best, or abuse and bad divorce at worst. As a somewhat older man, approximately 40, with some relationship experience, I feel the need to explain why of not dating these types so guys will be more likely to avoid making the mistakes I've seen so many men make. This guy wrote this out very well. He had to submit articles to different, things that would take articles like this. He says, for the purpose of this discussion, carousel rider single MOMs are women who have slept around, never intend to get pregnant, but wound up with child anyway. They're usually young, but not always. It is this high body count that makes them such a problem to date. Humans, both men and women, have a deep bonding instinct that is activated during intimacy. This bonding instinct is one of the most vital ingredients for a successful marriage or a lifelong relationship. Pause and consider why some couples don't separate as soon as the man loses his resources or job or status, or when the woman hits 40 or 45. Sure, a fair few will of them do, especially these days, but it's not a universal truth. The bond that intimacy creates between the couple is one of the main reasons. Incidentally, these instincts benefit women more than men because a lot of successful men may stay successful, but most women will age. However, in order to ride the carousel enough to accidentally get pregnant, a woman will have to have gone against her bonding instincts dozens or even hundreds of times. And nowadays, that hundreds of times number isn't so off. This absolutely destroys this instinct within her. As a result, she will not bond with you. Sure, she may love you at first, and he has love in quotes. She may be monogamous with you, but as soon as she simply believes she will get a better offer from someone other man than she is gone. She will either cheat on you or simply leave you, save yourself the trouble. I cannot make this any more clear by me saying this now or the stories I've told. You avoid the carousel riders like the plague. And a lot of guys, there have been stories where guys get involved with carousel riders, but they didn't know the girl was a carousel rider until later on. And, they're at some party and everybody's drinking and her friends let out clues or something like that. And a lot of the stories I've done, stories and subscribers submit stories, these guys find out about her past and they're like, see ya. Whether she is just her girlfriend or fiance. And she has a meltdown about it and all that. And guys don't want that. You don't need that. And yeah, she's not going to be able to connect with you and have that intimacy. Scientific studies have proven that about the whole pair bonding thing. It does bear mentioning that there are two possible good subcategories. The first is the low body count carousel rider. Prevention measures fail, and sometimes they fail early in the carousel rider's career. He's a career. This means that she has a low body count and thus has not destroyed her bonding instinct. The other subcategory to mention is the shocked straight carousel rider. Becoming a parent can be a very maturing experience. Trust me, I know. Basically, becoming a single MOM shocks the woman so much that she abandons the carousel and generally wants to settle down with a man and be an actual wife and mother instead of just being a bed warmer. While both types exist, they are too few to really be worth the risk. The vast majority of carousel riders have little or no ability for intimacy, bonding, and will leave you as soon as they see greener grass on the other side of the fence. Very true. Yeah, there are some that, okay, they were young and they messed up and everything like that. I know a guy, his son in high school, right out of high school, he had his girlfriend and protection wasn't used. I'm not sure the full story, but the point is they messed up. And she seemed like a pretty nice girl, and they got together, and they've been together ever since, and this has been since almost 20 years. So there are exceptions. Of course, they both were from a loving, traditional, religious families, and I know some people are going to say, well, you don't know that, SSM. I think I would actually bank on this, that it was actually a good situation, but it's rare. Anyway, he says, the next group is the divorcee single MOMs. This group is made up of the MOMs who had children within some sort of committed relationship, but that relationship fell apart. In this case, both the man and the woman contributed in some way to the relationship falling apart. I will discuss the gals who divorced for good reasons, such as cheating or abuse, later. He says marriage, and I'm using marriage to cover all types of long-term relationships, including life partners, to make this easier to type and read, is a complicated and somewhat difficult thing. Being married requires a lot of work. As I mentioned before, I've been married for over 10 years. I dated my wife for 3 years before proposing and insisted on a 1-year engagement period. Very smart, bro. That's a grand total of 14 years. It hasn't always been easy. But we got through the rough patches, and we'll get through the rough patches to come. Marriage requires a constant and conscious effort to choose each other every day. These women decide not to choose their husbands. They failed at marriage. Given how complicated and difficult marriage is, there's every reason to expect that they will fail again. If a mechanic messed up and made your car worse than the time you bought it, you wouldn't give that mechanic another chance. Marriage is harder to maintain and fix than the car. So why give a woman who has already failed another man an opportunity to fail you? It's a very good point. Now, it takes two to tango, and believe me, there are dudes that mess up too. And you ask anybody why things failed, she'll say him, he'll say her. And if they're actually reasonable people, they'll admit, okay, I did this, and blah, blah, blah. But still, if it didn't work out before, one asks the question, is it going to work out again? And of course, there are exceptions. Goes on, it says, some will say that the man also contributed to the divorce, and that is true. However, I have a couple points in response to that. Point number one is I would advise all women to stay away from a man who has failed as a husband. Point number two, trying to figure out who contributed more to a divorce, except in a blatantly clear situation, such as cheating, is useless. She would say it's his fault, and he would say it's her fault. Given the high chance of acrimony, and thus drama, between the gal and her ex, you're better off staying well away from this type of single MOM. Remember, she is tied to that ex because of the kids. He says, the most important subcategory to mention here is perhaps the most literally dangerous group of the single MOMs, the ones who work their husband to death. I've known men who were so stressed by their wives, either spending crazily or forcing him to work too much, and were just plain too crazy to be handled. I used to work with a guy who married such a woman. He was stressed and overworked that he had a heart attack at age 36. It was painful to watch. I don't know what happened to him, and I left that job, I left that job after that. But I hope he left that woman. She was ending him and very easily could have been the exact same type of single MOM. Yeah, there are a lot of ones that are like that. They just spend and spend and spend, and he has to keep trying to make the money and all that, and essentially working himself to an early grave. Not cool, but on the other hand, that guy should have had the strength and the balls to say, and this is not happening, or walk away. Now, it's not easy to just walk away, but you guys get my point. Take actions to get to that point. No one says here, the final group of the single MOMs is the justified single ones. These are women who are single because of no fault of their own. This group needs to be divided into two major subcategories because they are two sides of the same coin. The first is the ones who have a positive view of their child's father. I will refer to these as the widows, since widows make up this type of single MOM. The second subcategory is a woman who had a negative view of their ex-husbands. The woman left a relationship for good reasons, such as cheating or other problems. I will refer to this group as betrayed wives, since YouTube's algorithms are less likely to ban repeated references to cheating. Yeah, you got to be careful with the YouTube algorithm. It says some might believe that the widows are a relatively safe bet when it comes to dating. After all, they did succeed at marriage. While that is true, there are some issues that make dating a widow very difficult. The biggest issue has to do with human psychology when it comes to grieving. When we mourn a loved one, we tend to remember only the positive aspects of that person and thus create an idealized version of them in our own heads that never existed. This is especially true if the person died tragically and or young. Because of this, there is a very real chance that the widow could unfairly compare you to an idealized version of her late husband that isn't real. That is very possible, but I'm going to say this. Yeah, if her husband died because he got sick, or he was maybe he was in the military, or was a police officer, he had some dangerous job, and they had a great thing going, that is not her fault, okay, at all. And if they had a really good marriage going, but still, there could be things that I mentioned in the very beginning that could come into play for a guy getting involved with her. But this is a situation that's definitely different, okay? They had a good thing going and something happened to him, okay? That's not her fault or anything like that, and she could have been great. But he makes a good point about her husband was perfect, so it's kind of hard to measure up, you know what I mean? That could be very difficult on the guy. But I'm going to say that of all the different situations, scenarios of the single MOMs, I think this is probably your better bet, you know? And again, because him passing wasn't her fault, wasn't his fault, and wasn't her fault, and they could have had a great thing going. But she would need a lot of time to grieve and move on, and it would take a mature guy to handle that type of thing. Anyway. Adding to this difficulty is the fact that by virtue of his passing, the idealized image can never be tarnished by a mistake or a failure. You will make mistakes, but now he will never will. In order to prevent this, you must enforce boundaries on her comparisons. However, there'll be societal pressures on you not to enforce these boundaries too hard. Well, the hell with societal pressures. You do what you want to do. It's your own freaking business, your own freaking life. If she's being difficult, you gotta set boundaries. Okay, I don't care what society says. After all, this man was a good husband and father. She has the right to grieve him, and the children he fathered had right to learn about him. It is a very difficult line to walk. While dating a widow can work out, and I have seen it work very well, I'd recommend only single fathers at least 30 years old try this. It takes a lot of life experience and maturity to walk this line. It says young guys, especially those that have never been married, should avoid this. There are too many pitfalls. I agree with a guy that has a lot more life experience, who's older, experienced, and all that, because there's going to be some issues there. And the question is, does he want to deal with that? You know, I mean, it's not going to be as easy as a gal that didn't have that kind of baggage. You know, again, he passed away. It's not his fault, not her fault, or anything like that. It says another one, the betrayed wives are, like I said, the opposite side of the same coin as widows. They have very good reason to have a very negative view of their exes. As some will point out, this gives you an advantage because there is very little chance of an unfair comparison. Basically, don't cheat and you're already better than the ex. That's a very low bar to hop over. However, the issues lies with trust. She will obviously have trust issues after the trauma of being cheated on, and that creates an even more difficult balancing act than the one you would need to perform with unfair comparisons from a widow. As have been mentioned on this channel many times, if a woman feels too secure in a relationship, she'll become arrogant about the relationship. That will lead to problems, lots of them. This is prevented by having boundaries, enforcing them, and most importantly, being willing to disengage and walk away. I've said this so many times that pretty much I can say it's on blue in the face. The second you guys, your relationship guys, make her feel too secure in the relationship, that you're not going anywhere, that no matter what she does, you're always going to be there for her, that's it. There's going to be problems because they need to know that if they push you too far, disrespect, amongst many other things, you can walk, okay? And it's a lot harder to walk when you put a ring on her finger. Meanwhile, if it's just your girlfriend and you're not living together, if whatever number of reasons and valid reasons she's making things difficult or being not cool to you, disrespectful, not supporting you, whatever, you can walk. And when they know you can walk, it's amazing, night and day, how they treat you, okay? If that is one thing I could have passed on to my younger self, God almighty, I wish I could do that. There's a lot of things I'd like to teach young SSM, but believe me, and I can't believe I'm talking to myself in the third person because I'm not going to reveal my name here, but you get my point. That's one of them. You can walk away and like that. When they become too secure, that's a problem. Anyway, he says here, however, the betrayed wife has justifiable major trust issues. Every woman needs to feel reasonably secure in the relationship, and a betrayed wife is going to need some extra reassurance. But it's very easy for a man to give her too much reassurance, that's the point, too much, and make her arrogant regarding the relationship. This is even for a narrow route to walk than the one that comes with dating a widow. Also, keep in mind that she has tied her ex through the children or child or children. And we know for a fact that he is a creep. The potential for drama is almost limitless. We want to limit drama as much as possible. This is like I said in the beginning, guys. I made that list about you're always going to be dealing with the ex. So if the ex was a scumbag or just for whatever reason it didn't work out and she has a negative view on him, no matter what, he's going to be in the life that you're going to be dealing with those kids, with her. She come home from work one day and you're having a great day and you're in a good mood and she's pissed off because of something he said or did. And now it's impacting you. Okay, now everybody can have bad days no matter what, but you get my point. To add issues to dating a betrayed wife, you will find there is even less societal support for a man dating this type of single MOM than the one who's dating a widow. I know one widow who has since remarried. She was married to a friend of mine who sadly died to a drunk driver, leaving her and the 2 kids behind. When she started dating her current husband, she did start making the unfair comparisons I mentioned earlier. Her former in-laws and the women in their social groups told her to stop doing this because she was going to ruin a very good thing for her and her kids. It is possible she just was so fair to loving somebody again that she was messing it up intentionally, and that's another issue. This is not going to happen with a betrayed wife. Society excuses all sorts of bad actions from a betrayed spouse, especially a betrayed wife. Society is also far more supportive of a betrayed wife staying single for the rest of her life, so it is even more unlikely that you will get support from outside your relationship to help you walk an already narrow path of managing her trust issues. Once again, dating a betrayed wife type of single MOM can work quite well, but I wouldn't recommend you try this until you are at least 35, preferably older, and have had several long-term relationships under your belt. You know what the common theme here is? Age and experience. But if you're going to do these types of things, and be careful. But these young guys, they're in their early 20s, don't know any better, bad idea. Let me tell you a quick story. I'm going to interrupt and tell you a quick story of my life. When I was 19, I had this girl I was friends with in my political science class I had to take. And she was a freaking hottie. She was a 9 out of 10. And she really liked me, but she had a boyfriend. Big surprise. And he was a Chad Tyrone type. He was probably about 25. And things weren't going well, and she was about to break up with him. And then guess what? She got pregnant. And so any level of attraction I had for her was right out the door. And she obviously was going to stay with him to make it work and all that. Okay, fair enough. And then about 9 months later, she popped out the kid. She lost all the weight. And I didn't see her for about a year or so. And then she lost all the weight, and she looked still hot, because by then she was 21. And guess who she was? And she was no longer with that guy, because of course that guy wasn't going to make a very good father, let alone marry her or anything like that. And guess who she was after? Me. Young me, who was the nice guy back then, who did have some white nightcat traits. Not a lot, but some. I told you I was a nice guy back then and totally clueless. And she was after me. But at 21 years old, I had enough good sense saying, oh, hell no. I'm not getting involved with her. I'm not going to be this little kid's daddy. I got my own goals. I got my own plans in life. See ya. But that's what she was after. Anyway. But a lot of young guys would think, ooh, I got this hot-looking girl who's after me now, blah, 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 and figure, hey, and they would deal with the kid. It's not worth it. So that is all the types of single MOMs I can think of and why you should avoid dating them. Single MOMs bring a lot of problems and drama to the table. The relatively safe ones, the justifiable single MOMs, require careful navigation of relationship issues that simply don't exist with most other gals. These also make up a very small portion of the single MOMs out there. The carousel riders and divorcees make up the vast majority of the single MOMs and should be avoided, period. I hope my observations help, SSM. I think that far more of your viewers are or could be relationship-minded than they'd like to admit. I know, I'm really, after doing this for 2.5 years, I definitely know that a lot of this audience are relationship guys, whether they want to admit it or not. And that's okay. If you and your viewers would like more of my observations, then I will be happy to oblige. I'd also like to add that the problems I have mentioned apply to the non-mothers that fall under the above categories. I want to mention the single MOM specifically because I've seen a lot of pressure on men to date these types, and single MOMs are tied to their exes far more than a childless woman. Have a good day. Bro, that was great. You ought to consider doing writing on the side. That was really well written, and I definitely enjoyed that. So, guys, I thought he really broke this down well. Now, like I said in the beginning, this does not mean they're all like this, and there's going to be all this turmoil and drama and the worst-case scenarios you guys have either seen, heard, or experienced, but they're playing out there as our train wrecks and can bring tons of drama to your life that you simply do not need. So for a guy that is on his grind, on his purpose, is trying to make something of himself in this life, whatever that may be, you're trying to minimize the drama in your life. So in that case, it's better you stick with the ones that have no attachments with kids and exes and all that. But at the end of the day, it's your own life and you got to make your own decisions. And he did make fair points, in my opinion, about the ones that obviously they're single and raising kids, and it's not their fault in terms of the husband or baby daddy died and he was a good man to her, but on the job or illness or who knows what. Okay. That's different, or they had a really good thing going and she was loyal and good to him and he ruined it by cheating. Okay. But the main red flags are the carousel riders and the ones that were in relationships and messed it up because of their own freaking issues. That's a different ballgame, especially watch out for those. But anyhow, guys, good one there. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this, guys. Let's hear about your experiences in this department. I'd like to hear about it, and he would too. And also, guys, if you got a good story you'd like to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to this. Like I said a few days ago, I was away in Ireland for 10 days. Had a great time there. It was in the 60s the whole time compared to this fucking heat wave we're having here in most of the U.S. And over those 10 days, I didn't do any videos, and I got flooded with emails. So I'm really behind. So just send your stuff and I'll get to it when I can. If it works, I'll cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.